Good day. This is Fabian speaking to you from the very exclusive Rose Studio of the Art Fabian Company. The Art Fabian Company is an art studio and marketing firm, and I, Vivian Fabian, am the brain behind it. What I'm going to be showing you today is a webbook reading of a sketchbook that's about six portfolios long, which I named Book 9. The whole thing started is that I've been working on this particular portfolio, this particular sketchbook, for a long time. Perhaps you could see that when I received it, it was quite damaged, which is understandable since this sketchbook was put in my I had a large mail bag kind of thing, and I put this sketchbook in it as I went along around the art world throughout the city to enjoy the artistic concerts that they had of various types. They were free and not free, but mostly when I had this particular sketchbook, I usually had some time to kill. The places that I went were from one end of the city to the other, which is quite a large city, so I never knew exactly when I would be there and how long it would take. At the time, I did include some fashion magazine pictures to show you the kind of people and dress that I did encounter at that time, or that I wished I did, which was the inspiration for what my world. So this sketchbook starts at December 22, 1992. At first, it started as a sketchbook, just of sketches, but as I went on my way, enjoying these various concerts, I found that I had many things to talk about that the people around my world would not understand or tolerate. Since most of the people I knew did not appreciate the cultural venues that I went to, I had a lot to think about, and it pleased me to write it down as I went along. At the same time, I started looking at different kind of magazines, and it became kind of an issue to get rid of the magazines completely. I guess that's another reason why I incorporated these pictures here. This is the sketchbook number 1. Christmas Day, December 23rd, 1992. 11:14. At the time, Christmas days, which I'm not of a Christian faith, were a terribly, terribly straining and draining time for me. And I didn't know quite what to do with it. This is not quite in order here. November 1992. So I guess I would again, it would be a very good impetus for me to get down and write my own thoughts about things. As for what I've done here in this particular sketchbook, or this series of sketchbooks, I had to, first of all, undo the binding of the sketchbook, which was pretty much of a metal spine, and carefully go through the things and see how much I could get rid of with the stains and pencil marks, smudge marks, which if I kept pretty much most of this this sketchbook, despite the fact that you see there's some basic flaws. What I was carrying in my bag was actually a pen and pencil, in case a couple of those, which in case something broke down, I had more than one, and also I always had masking tape. And that's why these pictures, if they were put on, when they were put on, glued onto the page, it was usually through this very simple masking tape. Yes. These pages are not in order. I received actually the sketchbook, although I could have been confused at the time and wrote the wrong date. I don't know. Because it says December 26, 1992, and before was January. It bears further examination. But this is how I received it. It had been carelessly stored in a wine cellar in my parents' house. This is sketchbook 1, and I'm just simply filming it as I received it, ad hoc. This is a 9 by 12 Sketchpad. It was originally. I don't know. You can't see this, but the whole Rose studio, my living working space where I thought the best was to film this, had been taken pretty much apart, and I had, because I had to find a place to properly present a sketchbook or a book at all, because one of the problems I came to filming these things is how to do it, since most of the time I look at my books and I write them flat, and that doesn't work at all with a camera. I have to watch I have the camera on the table next to the to my desk where my sketchbooks are being shown, and I have to be careful, for one of my big enemies happens to be glare. So once in a while I'm casually looking back at the camera to see if I could avoid it as much as possible. This sketchbook, unfortunately, is archival quality sketchbook, but unfortunately, if you're not careful, it'll catch the light. That was one problem. Yeah, I have the dates here going from 1992 to 1993. I was pretty confused at the time. One problem, archival quality to me means the backing of this lovely black paper. But because this particular sketchbook, unfortunately, I did sketches on both sides of the paper, I had to take that paper out. What these sketches were usually, that meant I was waiting in line. I would do it on the bus too, if it was not too bouncy. I actually had a method how to get used to the bouncing on the bus if there was a problem with the muffler, and I would be able to draw some sketches and stuff on it too. But if you see what they're called gesture drawings, like these here at the bottom, it's usually someone who I'm watching somehow for a protracted amount of time. I find these quite beautiful, the sketches sometimes of my imagination and the drawings. Yes, I was told many times that I should not make imaginative drawings. I should concentrate for a long time on just sketching the actual world. But since this is much of a labor of love, I put it aside. As usual, money was on my mind, and I would often sit down and work my budget out to see how I could go to a concert. I had, even though I was on social assistance and had a very small amount of money, I would put down a certain sum of money each month to go to high culture. It started off with, first I went to free concerts or student films, and the free concerts were often at the Maison de Culture, the multicultural centers. That's book 2. But I felt that was not enough, so I put down, at a certain point I put down a certain amount of money, quite a lot actually, for high art. To fulfill a need. What the need was I felt that if I would be so immersed with poverty as I was, I would never have a chance to get out of it. And mostly the problem was always a constant fear of marginalization, of absorbing completely the ideas of people who are extremely marginal, which I was surrounded by that, so much so that I would become a victim of poverty and never seem to get out of it. So I convinced, first of all, I got to go to the high culture myself, and eventually my parents got some backing that they would buy me memberships to the high arts, which they could declare on their income tax. But at first it was an ad hoc business, and it all started with a little free plays that they had all over the city. This was the heyday of the cultural centers and the libraries. They just started out. They had very complex viewing like stages for people to go down. They were just being built. They were just built. It was a whole system of libraries, and they all had a performance hall, a multi-purpose performance hall, and gallery. Often the focus was on children's plays, which I enjoyed it very much. There was a very strong circus and acrobatic presence in these productions. And they were well for me because they were in the afternoon, since I had to get there. One nice concert was very nice was the Son and Brioche concerts that took place on Sunday morning in Place des Arts in the foyer there, which was it wasn't the concert hall at all. It was the foyer where people gathered to talk during performances and breaks. And someone would some organization kindly supply some very good breakfasts of coffee and brioche and juice. And it was a very small price. And you could go and listen to some very ambitious and very talented young musicians play music for you in this lovely setting with a pretty full belly of some fine pastries. A continental breakfast, they call fresh, very enjoyable. As I started doing this book, I figured the best thing to do to identify the pages would be to number them. And as I was looking at it now, I realized that I wasn't always that good at it. Let me just sometimes somewhere in the middle of the numbering, I got the wrong number. I have to do the numbers which are over here over again somewhere in the middle. Not only that, this is not the full book. I'm missing a couple of books, I think, unless because I'm so involved in the numbering and putting the pages and getting things, I could have been confused, but I thought there were 7 books and I've only found 6. It makes sense that it's 6, not 7. This should be a sketchpad of 100 pages, actually. At the time, I was an avid reader of, when I could have had money for fashion books. This is a habit I had since 10 years old, to pick up Vogue magazine. And I would actually go through these lovely pictures, these lovely magazines, and read all about fashion and style in my leisure time since a small age. And when I had this time to myself, which I was not permitted to work because of health reasons, I would pick up magazines when I could from the stores. It would not occur to me to buy second-hand magazines at the time. This habit remained with me when I was younger, about 10, as childhood and as a young adult. I was an avid reader, and that habit of reading serious books stopped after university, but the magazine reading continued for a very long time, and that too would eventually stop. When I got the computer that I have now, I wanted to concentrate all of my eyesight, which my eyesight is not always consistent, on my work. which is organizing my many photographs. I do now. This is book 3, book 4 already. I thought it would take 1,000 years to film these, but I think I'll be able to get them done under half an hour. In fact, the studio had to be all taken apart. This is my living working place, and it's been quite a major project today. The whole thing was discombobulated. I have my makeup on this table, and I wanted the whole thing clean, so it gives me an opportunity to clean the table such that it is. But as I was doing this, I noticed that I had some books to put in the archives and some to take out. So just about an hour ago, the whole room was covered with stacks of books all over and boxes. And this is upside down. And it's coming to the end of the afternoon. My alarm should ring, unfortunately, very soon. And that means cleanup time. It's a Saturday morning. It's a Saturday afternoon. And it's a lovely day outside. I had the opportunity to go to do some errands. Much writing. It calmed me down a lot to write these things. I really did. Until I figured out what to do, it was really awful because it just had all this emotion that I wanted to talk about, and lots of it was not at all anything but painful, which must have been a burden to the listeners. So when I finally took pen in hand and started writing instead of drawing, or combining the two, it was much of a relief. It might be clearer to you that if you have things that are not expensive or that are free that you could go to, that there's no stress involved, and that you could do that as much as you can. But it has been my experience that the topic matter and getting there and eating properly is a stress in itself. And if you don't have the proper resources, and you don't have a backup like taxi money, stuff like that, what I did is break down again and again, several times, from the stress of going from one place to another and all this information. For example, the opera was mostly many tragedies at the opera, and what happened to me, since I was alone, I would actually find myself after the opera in a state of mourning, and I was happy that it was only one opera I could see a month, because I would have to recover from that state of mourning until the next one came along. And I got to learn to work with my pain, my own grieving, before actual things happened to me personally vis-a-vis that. But it was quite a struggle to go to the arts. That again, free shows is part and parcel, is part of the battle. Free shows make the project at least plausible, but then you have many things to worry about. One is how to eat for it properly, and another is how to get there, and a third thing is how to rest, and a fourth thing is how to recover. So you have some stuff to do. If you get it in your mindset to go to culture, to follow culture like I did at this time, you have an enormous world of beauty, but you also have a challenge. And you have to be careful. I keep on thinking of an expression from the opera called, what was it called? It wasn't what La Traviata could it have been? It was about an opera singer who fell in love, was in love with a painter. It was the name of a person. I think Lascata, but it's not that. And anyways, there's a Baron de Scarpia in it. And no, it's La Traviata, which the line that I remember said, "I'd like to die in a whirlwind of pleasure," is why she became the Traviata. The Traviata was a beautiful young girl who became an object of desire for very rich people, and was fated not to live long. And what she said is that, "I would like to die in a whirlwind of pleasure rather than live the drudgery of a poor person," which she did. If you read a little bit of the story of La Traviata, it all the inspiration for the tale, for the story, for the work of fiction came when somebody saw a young woman hang at the balcony for the very rich people, dripping in hugely expensive jewelry, and that form he thought of that a lot, and he wrote an opera about her, this unnamed woman. But a whirlwind of pleasure. If you have reached a certain amount of despair, a certain amount of poverty, you will be beaten, and you know this. And such as a game is not even a question of avoiding beating, but to figure out why you are going to be beaten. And that's what I was doing a lot, hence the breakdowns. That I was going to get beaten was the case in my situation. But if I could work it through, that I understood that beating was for a purpose, that I understood as important, excuse me, as high culture and achievement in civilized behavior, that makes a hell of a difference. You could take it, you know. One of the problems with beatings is the victim is often devastated, guilt-ridden, and broken. And although I have my share of brokenness, I do have my sense of pride and accomplishment, because I did follow the arts. And I have here this book with some perfectly exquisite sketches to show that it has influenced my life and me in many ways, as did fashion magazines. This is KV Fabian speaking to you from the Rose Studio of the Art Fabian Company, my brainchild. This was the reading of Book 9, all 6 books of it. Sketchbook 9. Have a good day, and I'll speak to you soon again.